Speaking of football, we start there, Sam Yarnell, on this Monday. You are a resident Buffalo Bills whisperer, so I never have a problem going to you. And look, this would have been the lead story whether you were working on this show or not. Buffalo being, I can't even find the words that I think would adequately describe what took place down in Miami yesterday between the Dolphins and the Bills. The shocker of the week, with the Dolphins throttling the Bills 30-13, Sam Yarnell. So you're smiling, and I don't know why any Bills fan would be smiling coming off of this game. Have at it. Try to explain how they can come out that flat against that team in this spot, knowing that the Patriots are not only nipping at their heels, they've now passed them in the division.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm smiling is because I'm an objective journalist before I'm any sort of fan, and I'm more than anything an agent of chaos. And this game causes chaos for both of these franchises. This was the worst possible result for every player on the field, every coach involved, and both front offices for both of these franchises. Nothing could have gone worse in this game than it did for anybody. You've got Bills fans calling for the jobs of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, something that I have been doing on this show for years at this point, so whatever, old news. And on the Dolphins side, you've now got them sold down the river on Mike McDaniel. They're going to sign up for another year of McDaniel and Tua. And oh, by the way, their draft pick in the upcoming draft just got exponentially worse with that win. So this is a game that will cause chaos in the NFL, and not for all the reasons that everyone wants to talk about. Yes, those are true, and there are some concerns in Buffalo, but my goodness, from a Dolphins perspective, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm almost as angry as Bills fans are coming out of this game, because you're guaranteeing yourself another year of Tua. You're signing up for another year of Mike McDaniel, all in the week off of the week where you thought that there was finally positive change coming in the organization. On the Bills side, it seems like I'm the only one who thought this, but I was saying it to the person I was watching the game with who's not a Bills fan, and they agreed with me. I think Josh Allen was sick yesterday. And I know everybody knows he throws up before the game and forces himself to, and that's something he's done his whole career. I don't know if he had to force himself to yesterday. I mean, the plays he was making, the way he was reading defense, the guy was sweating through his jersey before kickoff. It just did not look like a classic Josh Allen game. And, he still posted some crazy numbers, but it was just not. It was a different offense we were watching yesterday, and it all starts with Josh Allen. Something was not right with him yesterday. He did not play very well for the majority of that game, and he looked white in the face. It was off-putting to watch Josh Allen in that game yesterday.
I'd be white in the face if I was getting my you-know-what kicked in by the Miami Dolphins. I mean, that would. I think
even before that.
But I just think there's as much shock as anything in that organization. And look, if this had happened to a team that was a perennial champion, a Super Bowl champion like the Chiefs, I could slough it off easier because we know their pedigree. For a team like the Bills that hasn't won anything, it is inexcusable for me for them to come out that flat. And that's why the Sean McDermott point, I think, is a cogent one. Because for them to come out in that spot, I mean, there are teams that come out and play poorly and still find ways to win. They came out poorly and still, I mean, they had nothing working for them in that game yesterday, Sam.
It is a little crazy to call for the job of a coach whose team is 6-3. I think anyone can agree with that, right? And it is the spot of all spots for the Bills to lose games. And people said this coming into the game, right? Everyone said they were paying so much attention to Kansas City last week. Maybe they were. Maybe they were just asleep and celebrated too hard after that Kansas City game, Jason. But regardless, ugly game for the Bills franchise. Just as bad of a win for the Dolphins, though. Yeah. They should not have won that game.
Well, I mean, look, the Jets didn't do themselves any favors winning yesterday either. So, I mean, there's a few teams we could actually look at and have the Saints. I mean, we could have this conversation about a few teams yesterday. Let's go to the game of the day, the finish of the day in the NFL, Sam, and that would have to be what took place in Berlin between the Colts and the Falcons, and just a wild ending to this game. Jonathan Taylor goes for 240 plus. You've got, him getting another 40 through the air. You've got Daniel Jones with blood in his mouth. I mean, this thing was epic. What a performance. I have been as, insistent as anybody that I'm not a believer in the Colts when we get to the postseason. I'll take a week off from that talk. Well-deserved win for that team on the road.
Yeah, and Jonathan Taylor, even as much credit as he's getting, is not getting enough credit for what he is doing for this Colts team. I know Daniel Jones bounced back in a big way, and they needed that from a quarterback who they need to manage games, because Jonathan Taylor is probably the best football player in the league right now. He's going to win the OPOY pretty comfortably. That's not really a question at this point. He should be the favorite to win the MVP over Drake May. Here's why. We'll get into this later. Drake May gets outplayed every week, and his team luck boxes their way into wins. Jonathan Taylor outplays every running back he faces, and his team wins because of him. Jonathan Taylor's your MVP this year, Jason. If I had a vote, that's where I'd be going. I know it's a quarterback award, but let's be honest, no quarterback has stood out this year.
But hats off to Daniel Jones, because the drive that gets them into position to score the field goal, that gets this game in overtime, he made some big-time throws on that drive. After you had a couple instances in the game where you might have started to doubt again, a couple of turnovers, he made some big throws in that game. So I say hats off to Daniel Jones.
And Tyler Warren is great at tight end, and he's turning into old reliable for them very quickly. I'll tell you this, Alec Pierce does not get enough credit in league circles for the wide receiver that he is. He goes out and runs under just about any ball that Daniel Jones throws to him.
Yes, he absolutely does. We'll do more from the NFL coming up a little later on in the show. In particular, I want to talk about the team that has now supplanted the Bills atop the AFC East, and whether or not we are still, we've talked about teams we believe in and teams we don't believe in. Do we believe in the Patriots? Sam sure does, and I can already tell. Bill Bender talks college football with us next. Hey, no coaches got fired this weekend. We continue, and a lot more football to talk about. Mondays are always football heavy. Spend a couple of segments with our friend Bill Bender. The Sporting News does a terrific job on all things college football, and can do the pro stuff as well. Can't make fun of his Packers. They haven't played yet, so he avoids that this week. What's the matter? You were thinking something. I could see it.
I texted a friend already. I said, how long till the Packers waste the first half timeout tonight against the Eagles? So I'm already on edge about that game. I'm glad you're catching me this early.
Fair enough. Let's talk some college football. And the game I was texting you about, there's always one game every weekend that I text you about. This weekend, it was that classic between IU and Penn State. And boy, you kind of feel for the Nittany Lions, because it felt like they were going to, sort of get the monkey off their back, beat a top 10 team for the first time in like 8 or 9 years. And Indiana pulls the football away from them there at the last second. First of all, thoughts on Indiana, because I was texting you, and I actually texted what happens when Indiana loses, and then of course they come back and win. Still, even in a win, some cause for concern for Indiana in that game against Penn State for you?
Up front, I think I was texting you about that.
Yeah.
And I had another friend. I said, well, Penn State's got this because Indiana can't handle them up front. And sure enough, Fernando Mendoza leads that game-winning drive. What a catch. I mean,
yeah.
Greatest, we always say that's the greatest catch of all time. That's the best catch I've seen in a long time in terms of body control, being able to look down, putting the feet down.
Yeah.
And Fernando Mendoza, showing courage, I guess that'd be the light way to put it, on the road. I'm sure there's stronger phrases for that, but what a great win for Indiana. Really, Jason, I think it solidifies them as a playoff team at the very least.
How about the Heisman talk on Mendoza? Coming, was that his Heisman moment?
From Gus Johnson? Because he could barely get it out when he was talking on the game, but yeah, he'll be in New York. I don't know if he'll win the award, and I don't know, I think we're going to start to build up Fernando Mendoza versus Julian Sayin for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, when they play in the Big Ten championship game, which feels inevitable.
Same odds right now at plus 165.
Yeah, I still like Jeremiah Smith. I mean, I don't know what he has to do. I think because Julian Sayan's stats are so out of this world right now that's kind of the easy way to put him there. But if Jeremiah Smith were to go for, say, 180 and 2 touchdowns against Michigan and then be the story in the conference championship game against Indiana, he could still win the award. And I still like Ty Simpson in there as well.
I mean, the markets right now over on Polymarket saying is at 40% and Fernando Mendoza at 34%. So even though they have the same odds over on FanDuel, if you're looking at it in the markets right now, saying at 40%, Mendoza at 34%. Ty Simpson, by the way, at 13%. Go ahead, Sam.
Bill, you mentioned obviously in that Ty Simpson game over the weekend against LSU, the Alabama defense obviously is a huge story, only holding LSU to 3 field goals throughout that game. To you, is that more an indictment on what this LSU offense has become over the course of the season, or is it, no, Alabama really does have a top 3 or 5 defense in the country?
I mean, we'll find out this weekend, too. That'll probably be a slugfest against Oklahoma with the way Alabama's defense is playing, particularly at home. They had the energy. And I think Ty Simpson, again, he's just been able to manage the offense to the point where the defense is able to, play with that confidence that they didn't have in the Florida State game. They still have Alabama guys, 4- and 5-star guys. So, they're definitely a really good team. And I do like their defense. I don't know, Sam. I still kind of look at them as the team. It was Miami a month ago. Now it's Alabama as the team that could really give Ohio State a 4-quarter run.
Wow. Sam's yeah, I know. Give me a thought on.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
This is just something that ever since you posited it, we've continued to kind of balance it around of, at the end of the day, can this team stack up against Ohio State? And I think that your original number was 4 or 5, and I think that's such an apt number. It really is 4 or 5 teams in the country that physically have what it takes to compete with Ohio State. Alabama entering that fold, I don't think is quite something that I got to yet, but I totally see it.
Give me a thought on Texas Tech and doing what they did against BYU. Up 13-0 at the half, 19-0 after 3. They win comfortably 29-7. Cameron Dickey did a great job on the ground, 121 yards and a score. What did you learn about Texas Tech with that win over BYU?
Their defense is worth it. In terms of, I guess that's the best way to put it unintentionally, honestly. I was searching for the right phrase. But Jacob Rodriguez, David Bailey have been awesome. And they are the one team, I don't know if I said this last week, but I'll say it again. They're the one team outside of the SEC and the Big Ten that I'm most interested in the playoff picture, because I want to see them play somebody in the playoff from one of those conferences. And does Baron Morton hold up? Their running game is relentless. I like what I see out of Texas Tech. And I think they've uncomplicated the Big 12 playoff picture to me, because they're one. We'll see if they get a second one, but I think they're really close to being in.
Sam?
Vanderbilt survives again. Bill, is this team one that will have success in the college football playoff against other powerhouses of the sport? Should they even make it there? They're starting to make me and a lot of other people nervous.
Like nervous that they're getting in?
No, nervous that they've been completely fraudulent this whole time, and all this building up that we've had of, Pavia's actually a quarterback and this offensive line can compete with anybody. I think that may have been completely misguided.
Well, I don't know about team, but I know Diego Pavia is dragging them to the college football playoff, and I think he'll get them there if Texas loses to Georgia. That knocks them down to 3 losses. All Vanderbilt has to do is win these next 2 games. That Auburn game went about how I expected in some ways. I knew that was going to be a challenge for them with that Auburn defense, and Auburn hadn't give up more than like 24 points in a game all year. So, I mean, Pavia's really dragging that team to the college football playoff. If they get to 10 wins, I think they'll get in. They will get a road game at that point, but this is a team that plays with confidence that they went into Alabama and played well. Red zone turnovers. They played Texas. They did not play well, but they rallied in the fourth quarter.
Still were right there at the end.
They're a team that I think can get in and will be fun to watch because of Diego Pavia.
How about scrappy? Can we use the word scrappy?
Yeah, I had to get my thesaurus out, maybe Scrappy fits that team for sure.
All right. Bill Bender's hanging out with us from the Sporting News on college football. We got one more segment to do with him. By the way, shout out to my UConn Huskies. Yeah. Hell of a win against Duke. 7 wins for UConn this year. Sign me up for that. We're coming back. All right, one more segment with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. He does a terrific job and joins us every week on the show to talk college football. I can't believe we're already through 11 weeks of the college football season. Feels like it has flown by. Thoughts on Oregon? Beating Iowa in an Iowa kind of game. If you had told me the final was 18-16, I would have said, Iowa probably won. I mean, Oregon winning that kind of game, I'm not going to say it's like earth-shattering, but it kind of impressed me.
Yeah, the Kirk Ferentz special. That's what my buddies and I call it. The once-a-year upset against the top 10 team that gets Kirk Ferentz to 8 or 9 wins. Happens every year. Maybe it's this week against USC, honestly. But yeah, everything was there for the Iowa upset. They really limited Oregon. Oregon still ran the football well. They didn't throw the football well until Dante Moore throws a dime on the last drive that sets up the game-winning field goal. What a tough win for Oregon, honestly. Yeah. And I think that's one that score doesn't matter. You won the game. You move on. You get to this one. It really puts Oregon in that 6-10 range of the college football playoff. They're going to get blocked out of the Big Ten championship game probably, but they'll probably still have a chance to host a home game, which that'd be a cool moment for the program. Style points matter this time of year. So ND doing what it did to Navy does what? It affirms that Jeremiah Love is awesome. That touchdown run was good. And CJ Carr's really grown into that role. Didn't have to do too much, but was efficient. It kind of crappy that Blake Horvath didn't get to play in that game for Navy with the injury that he had. And it sets up this Pitt game, which Pitt leads the nation in rushing yards per attempt allowed, fewest. They're pretty good. Their linebackers are good. So here comes the test where CJ Carr is going to be asked to do more on the road and kind of an old – they used to be rivals, right? And I think Pitt's going to show up and play in this game. I am excited to watch that one on Saturday.
Okay, so you touched on the ACC, so now we'll dive right in. It was a crazy weekend in that conference. Jason mentioned UConn beating Duke. Duke was the favorite to win the conference. Now the favorite is Georgia Tech, but if you look at Georgia Tech's schedule, they have Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia left on their schedule. Bill, who do you think is going to come out of this ACC when all the dust settles?
A 2 or 3 loss team is what I'm getting at. That's what we're looking at, which means – Georgia Tech is our pick right now, but you said it. They still got to play Georgia. Pitt they could have 3 losses and make the SEC or the ACC championship game. They could lose to Notre Dame this week, and they probably will, and still make it to Charlotte. So, Virginia, if they don't have Chandler Morris, that's a problem. And Louisville, I'm not sure they're going to beat Clemson on Friday night. So it definitely, it's a 3.5-point spread. And, the Tigers got nothing to lose. So, it's a really complicated playoff picture. I'd still pick Georgia Tech or Pitt at this point. But if Louisville can beat Clemson, maybe they're in the mix. It all translates to one playoff bid for that conference.
If Clemson wins, do you think that impacts Dabo staying, leaving, or otherwise? Do you think this game on Friday has any sort of impact on it?
He might. It just seems like, you saw the clip of him on the sideline a couple weeks ago yelling at players, and there was no reaction from the players. I would have almost preferred if a player yelled back at him. You know what I mean? Because then it shows that at least you can hash that out. But I know that look. I've seen that look. I've coached a lot of youth sports. So, when you see that blank stare, it means they're not even listening. And that's something that's really tough to see. Sam, you had more on the G5, didn't you?
Oh, sure. So chaos has ensued again. I guess that's my theme on the show today, Jason. Chaos? I'm just our agent of chaos.
Hey, Bane.
In the G5, obviously this bid that I guess there's a ton of discourse about how it's phrased, right? But it's the fifth best conference champion, right? That's who's going to make it into the college football playoff, and obviously who will be competing for those conference championships was changed over the weekend. Does your opinion change at all with JMU getting the win, Memphis taking the loss to Tulane on Friday night?
A little bit, but I still think South Florida is the smartest pick, even with 2 losses. If they, and what we learned last week is if there's not a team in the top 25, the committee's just going to pick one. And, the committee's going to pick the one that beat Florida and the one that had the really good first month of the season. And I think South Florida, if they can win that conference, which has been the best of the 5 other conferences, they would have a chance. Now, James Madison in the top 25 does have my attention. They continue to win, and it'd be cool to have a Sun Belt team in there. But I do think the American Conference champ would have the drop.
When you look at the playoff rankings to come out this week, what is the one thing that the one team that you're most kind of zooming in on?
Not a team in particular, but how do they stack up these ACC teams now? How low are they? What's the highest ranked ACC team? And, where is that in relation to Notre Dame? We already did the Miami Notre Dame argument. We're not going to do that again this week. But if Notre Dame's 9 and the highest ranked ACC champion's around 15, that just shows where that conference is at. No particular team though. And if I had a team, are they actually going to slip a group of 5 team in there instead of putting some placeholder like 3-loss Tennessee?
So that's my question, right? Is there any world where the committee decides we're going to go with 3 of the Power 5 or 3 of the Power 4 and we're going to take 2 G5 champions?
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be tough to clear unless like Georgia Tech or Pitt had 3 losses and was ranked 23, then that could get a little weird. And I didn't even think about that until now. So maybe, but
Sam just wants as much confusion as possible.
He loves chaos and confusion, and you know what? That lands on my desk because I have to sit here for hours and try to figure it out like some mathematician. So I'd like a neater, cleaner ACC, unfortunately. And I think, realistically speaking, the Georgia Tech Pitt winner will probably have the best look at it. Especially if Georgia Tech can win their next 2. It won't really matter what happens with Georgia because they'll be in Charlotte.
Last 30 seconds here. Brian Kelly rejecting 2 financial settlement offers from LSU. He wants his $54 million, and I guess nothing's going to stop him from getting it, huh?
It's going to get ugly. That's going to draw out for a while, and it will impact who they hire and who they can hire as their next coach.
The joys.
I got Joe Brady to sell them on the cheap right now if they're still interested.
He's a name to watch for sure. There's no doubt.
Bill Bender does a great job on college football with us every Monday on the show. Bill, have a wonderful week, my friend. I'm sure I'll text you at some point, and we'll see you next week.
Just don't do it tonight. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye. Welcome back. Some more NFL to talk about in 10 minutes. A couple of more games. And if we don't get to the game you wanted to hear about today, don't worry. We've got weekend leftovers on Tuesday. We'll get to it. But Sam Yarnell, I didn't think we'd be talking about this on a Monday edition of the show. Major League Baseball with a new gambling crisis, this one involving Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. Now, it's new in the fact that now charges have been filed in this incident, or incidents as it would be. Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz, charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery. This going back to an incident, that took place a couple of years ago, May of 23, it looks like, is where a lot of this was taking place. An alleged scheme to rig individual pitches. By the way, kudos to Jeff Passan, who did a good job reporting on this story. Now, these rigged individual pitches allegedly led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to an indictment that was unsealed by federal prosecutors on Sunday. So Ortiz's attorney, I think, has said, or is it Clase's attorney? One of them is saying, hey, no, nothing to see here. We're going to vigorously defend our client. I think Ortiz was in custody. Clase is not as of the time that we put together the show. So, look, I mean, Sam, my take on this is, and you know how I feel about prop betting and how it plays a role in this. And in this particular kind of prop betting, something that is so easy to fix. And you know, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, well, the safeguards, see? The safeguards, it was, you know, the gambling companies and these different companies that are out there that look for sketchy betting patterns and things like that. That's great. But I wonder, and I said this in the Terry Rozier instance, I'll say it again. For every one that they're catching, how many are getting away with it? That's the issue and that's the thing that nobody can answer for me, is for everyone they're catching, how many are they not catching? Because if you don't have giant sums of money coming in on a bet, then it's almost impossible to catch it. So I'm still trying to figure out what this ultimately means for this kind of prop betting where you're talking about every individual pitch, something that is so easy to rig, and what this means going forward, besides the fact that these two guys are done and probably will never see a baseball field ever again.
So I think from the safeguard perspective, right, this is a Clase himself started doing this allegedly like a year and a half ago. In June of 25, this past June, is when he brought Luis Ortiz into it. A month later, they were both gone. Like, this is exactly how this thing is supposed to work. And I think to the point of, for all the people we uncovered doing it, there are as many people not doing it. Well, if that were the case, Major League Baseball wouldn't concern themselves with Luis L. Ortiz. He's not even the best Luis Ortiz on his team. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. So I think that, and again, in the NBA, right? 30-whatever-year-old Terry Rozier or Malik Beasley or the coach of
Deontay
the worst
Porter.
team in the league?
Porter,
like
yeah.
The point of how many people are doing it that we don't know about, to me, becomes moot because of the low-level amount of people or the low-level nature of the people who they're catching doing it. If there were more people embedded in it, they'd be going for the bigger fish, not the smaller ones. Again, legal sports gambling has so many measures in place that when a thing like this happens, you have within 12 hours of it happening, the sportsbook reaching out to the league. Within 24 hours of that, the league concluding an investigation that results in both of the players being suspended indefinitely. And now, and I know we don't get political on this show, but now you've got the second instance in a month of the federal government going after sports leagues at one of the times when they need to not be as relevant as they are, and completely making a spectacle out of arresting a couple of athletes. I don't quite understand it from a judiciary perspective. It seems a little drawn out and like a bad use of taxpayer money from a legislature perspective. And Jason, from a Major League Baseball perspective, I think that this is more reassuring than it is cause for concern.
Here's the thing, and forget the federal government getting involved or having hearings and any of that stuff. That's a dog and pony show. The thing that I will say though, why do we need these kinds of prop bets? We don't need them. It's only opening. You don't need a first pitch of an inning prop bet. We don't need this. Because it's just open. There's no you can have legalized sports betting, have all of it you want. You could have even, in-game live betting. There's so many different things to bet on. Why do we need this when it is something that is so easy to manipulate? That's my point. Just take it out. And you're telling me DraftKings and FanDuel can't make it without those bets being offered to potential users? It just doesn't make sense to me, Sam. And there's no good reason to keep those sorts of bets on irrelevant moments in games as part of your operation if you're these companies. Just take it out.
a lot of your concerns are very comparable to concerns that a lot of the general public had with the introduction of penny stocks, right? And I think a lot of these bets that you have to think of as individual pitch bets, individual play bets in football, you can do them across sport.
Yeah.
You have to think of them as something that's new to a money market, right? That needs legislation and oversight. So there needs to be more oversight. But in a free market capital world that we live in, I don't think you can limit what these businesses are offering.
It's going to be interesting to see where the rubber meets the road on that, because I think your point is also a fair one. We're coming back with more NFL next. Odds and Ends wraps it up in about 10 minutes. A couple of notable passings from the world of sports over the weekend to talk about. We'll get to those, plus a Monday Night Football preview. Packers and Eagles. Heard us talking about it with Bill Bender. He's already worried. Some more NFL talk, Sam, and more analysis from what took us by surprise or what was most notable from Week 10 around the NFL. And obviously one of the games that we all had an eye on before the weekend started was the Buccaneers and the Patriots, and the Patriots just keep on winning football games by hook or by crook. They beat the Buccaneers on the road in Tampa Bay, and this was a game where you thought that, you know, we were gonna find out more about what you think is kind of a fraudulent New England Patriots team, and instead we come out of the game and Drake May is your favorite to win the MVP, Sam.
He is. And I'm so glad that that's where we're starting with this, because that is my favorite thing about this whole Patriots run that they're currently on, with big wins over teams like the Browns, Titans, and Saints. Drake May, while being the MVP favorite, I think is so funny. As I alluded to earlier in the show, this is a guy who won a game. I shouldn't say he won a game yesterday. He didn't. His team won a game yesterday. He got outplayed pretty handedly. Wasn't really close. So it made me think, and I went back and looked. The last time, really funny stat coming. The last time Drake May won a game where he actually outperformed the opposing quarterback, it was the Browns game against Dylan Gabriel. That is the only one this year. Oh, it's hard to say, but it's true. Drake May is a great game manager. He's doing a lot of things that I think we talk about earlier in the show. We talked about Ty Simpson doing with the Alabama team, right? The difference is that Alabama team is levels beyond anybody they play in terms of defense and talent. This New England Patriots team is not. I'm not here to say it's a matter of time. I'm just here to say that they're complete and total frauds. There is a difference. Right now, if the playoffs started today, their first round matchup would be against the Bills in Foxborough. I would bet a substantial amount of money that the Bills are a field goal favorite on the road in that game. So while it's fun and I'm happy for Patriots fans who have suffered for a long time, it smells a lot like, and I really hate to say this part even less, the 2021 Patriots. Patriots fans remember that team well. It was Belichick's second to last year with the team. It was Mac Jones' first year, a year where Mac Jones went to a Pro Bowl and finished second in Rookie of the Year. He was great. You get a good year out of new quarterbacks, especially ones from UNC, when you go to New England. But I don't think that it's at all reliable on this happening again or him coming close to the MVP this year.
Here's what's interesting to me. You know, throughout the year, we watched the sort of the AFC North and the mess that was there. And odds makers never moving off the Ravens, despite how bad it was getting in that division. They never moved off the Ravens. But you know what? In the AFC East, the odds makers think the Patriots are going to win the division. They've got them at minus 240 against the Bills at plus 190. So here's what I ask you, Sam. And I guarantee you there are people at home asking this question. If New England's a fraud, and you want to point to some of the tomato cans they've beaten. They've now beaten Tampa Bay on the road. They've beaten Buffalo. If they are frauds, then what does that make Buffalo?
Interesting point. I think Buffalo is a team that is deeply under-talented at weapon positions where they haven't been in the past. I think anybody would tell you that the injuries that the Bills have suffered this year have been almost as crippling as those of the 49ers. And I think that's actually the most apt comparison. I think the Bills and the 49ers have very similar season paths. They've had a copious amount of injuries at key positions. You have teams refusing to do deals with them at the deadline solely because they're such a good football team over the last couple of years. The Bills are an established contender year in and year out. They've actually been in this very situation as recently as 3 years ago with the Miami Dolphins in the place where the New England Patriots are now, 10 weeks into the season, favorites to win the division. The Bills still made it farther than the Dolphins did. I think they beat the Dolphins head-to-head that year in the playoffs, actually. So this is not unfamiliar territory for the Bills. They are the team that America loves to put down more than none other across professional sports. So when given the opportunity, I am not at all surprised that there's been reaction around the league to the Patriots in this way.
The one thing that I'll say on May, it's kind of got Tim Tebow-ish vibes. He's only completing 51% of his passes this year. Tim Tebow. I'm just saying it's got a little bit of Tim Tebow vibes when we talk about his completion percentage.
Okay, that's a worse insult than Mac Jones.
I'm saying. I look at the completion percentage.
Tim Tebow
19. But the one thing I will say, he takes care of the football, man. 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the year. In the last minute, how concerned are we about the Steelers? Because, my God, that team couldn't do anything offensively against the Chargers. And look, I'm not even blaming Aaron Rodgers. I blame the Steelers as an organization because they, at the deadline, did not go out and get another receiver. And everybody knew they needed somebody to put alongside DK Metcalf, and they didn't get one. So I blame the Steelers as an organization as much as I blame anything for what's transpiring there. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is playing terrible football. I think he's playing all right. There's a couple of times where he looks rushed when the pass rush is coming. He's 41 years old. You don't want to get hit. I get it. But I think this is as much a problem from the Steelers front office standpoint and what they didn't do at the deadline, Sam.
I agree with you that it's the Steelers' problem from a front office standpoint, but for the same reason I said coming into the season. This is who you trusted this team with? They had fraud written all over them from week 2 on.
Yeah. Ravens are going to win that division. And they gave everybody a running start, and they're still going to catch them. We're coming back. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday tomorrow. NFL weekend leftovers. We'll have those for you. We'll also have a recap of the Monday Night Football game. MLB Rookie of the Year award being handed out on Monday night. We'll have a reaction to that, although I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion who's going to win those awards, but we'll have that covered for you as well on the show tomorrow. A whole bunch more. Before we go, though, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday, 45 minutes, right there waiting for you every afternoon, early in the afternoon. Make sure to go and subscribe. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, which if you have not checked it out yet, full versions of the show Monday through Friday available there. Sports Wrap shorts are available there as well. Sports Wrap shorts, a great way to keep up with everything going on. They're a minute, they're real quick, and if there's a big breaking news story, we've got it covered there on our YouTube channel. In addition, we also have on TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page. On Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. Sports Wrap shorts available there as well. And without any further delay, on this Monday, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Sad news from the world of sports this weekend. A couple of notable passings, Sam. Starting with Lenny Wilkens, Basketball Hall of Famer. And you know, we always joke around about everybody gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame. This guy was a true Basketball Hall of Famer. He passed away Sunday at the age of 88. Played for 15 years in the league, was an all-star 9 times, led the league in assists twice. Everybody thinks about him, what he did as a coach. leading the Sonics to a title in 1979, Coach of the Year in 1994, third most wins all time as a head coach. Man, did Lenny Wilkens do it all. He won 1,332 games, coached 2,487 games, won a gold medal in the 96 Olympics. I mean, is there any more to say about the greatness that was Lenny Wilkens, and not just a Hall of Fame coach / player, but a Hall of Fame human being? I have never come across anybody who had an interaction with Lenny Wilkens that didn't have something nice to say about him, Sam.
Yeah, I'm trying. He is, I think, one of a few people. So you mentioned a lot of his accolades. Coached the most games ever in NBA history. Excuse me. I think he's one of a very small amount of people who are in the Basketball Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach.
I got it for you. Yeah. John Wooden, Bill Sharman, Tommy Heinsohn, the former Celtic, and Bill Russell. There you go.
Yeah. So he's the fifth ever to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame as both a player and coach. Truly a magnet in the sport of basketball for a general 4-decade run, right? Like from 1960 all the way through the 90s, he was around basketball. Truly incredible, very important player in terms of the history of the game.
Yep.
And yeah, one of the most underrated, most forgotten 15-year NBA careers that we've ever seen, Jason.
Yep, absolutely. Paul Tagliabue passed away this weekend as well. The fourth NFL commissioner passing away. And, look, somebody that grew the league through, the commissioner I grew up with was Paul Tagliabue. You know, a lot of people today are growing up with Roger Goodell. I grew up in the era of Paul Tagliabue, saw the league through 9/11, amongst other significant events that took place during his time as the commissioner of the league. Paul Tagliabue passing away this weekend as well, Sam.
The NFL that you watch today, people don't realize this. The NFL that you watch today is Paul Tagliabue's NFL. The massive revenue machine that it has become today is because of Paul Tagliabue. Roger Goodell gets a lot more credit for Paul Tagliabue's work than he probably deserves. Paul Tagliabue was one of the most important people in the history of the National Football League. He took this league from being an afterthought, a pastime, something people did on the side just kind of to enjoy a couple of hours of every weekend, to owning Sundays and taking that day away from the church. Paul Tagliabue did more for football than you could argue any American has done for any sport in the last 100 years.
Last but not least, in the last minute here, Sam, Monday Night Football. We've got the Packers and the Eagles. Should be a good one at Lambeau tonight. Packers minus 1.5 over on FanDuel. 45.5 is your total, Sam Yarnell.
This game is going to be fun. I don't want to pick a side. I'll go with the Packers coming off of their loss. Get a little bit of fire in their eyes. Give me the Packers. Play them on the money line. I'm not messing around with 1.5. Lean under, too.
Yeah, I don't like this game at all because I don't have confidence in either team right now. I really don't. I don't have confidence in either of these teams. I really don't. I'll probably go with the under, seeing as I went with the under all weekend. How'd that do for me? I think I was 1-3 on my picks this week. I stink. Just whatever I pick right now, just pick the opposite. Just go opposite picks, man. Just go opposite anything I do. Is it Scott Wetzel that does opposite picks? Just go opposite anything I say right now. That's all.
7-1 fading Jason the last 2 weeks.
You want to win? Just do the opposite of what I do. I stink. There's no getting around it. I am under 500 for the season now. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to all of you for watching. Yeah, I am. Thanks to you, Sam. We'll see you all back here on Tuesday for more Sports Wrap. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.